Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. We've got some new Q for you, and I'm going to get started right on it. Keep in mind, I always read through these first once, so if you want to skip through to the analysis, just click on the timestamp below. Post 14:23, 40 minutes past the hour of 12 p.m. on May 20th. We have NSA traffic cam. Looks like rotation 1 picture. Camera rotation 2. Camera rotation 3. And then we have a reference to a February 16th post, UK, stay alert, Q. Q is highlighting this NSA traffic cam. Q says, note the time, note the vehicles on the road, compare against February 16th. 6 in brackets, what looks to be probably surveilled, valued targets in brackets, UK, US, US, UK, Q. Post 14:24. 46 minutes after the hour of 12, in reference to a May 20th tweet from Donald J. Trump, I hereby demand and will do so officially tomorrow that the Department of Justice look into whether or not the FBI/DOJ infiltrated or surveilled the Trump campaign for political purposes, and if any such demands or requests were made by people within the Obama administration. Q says, follow the pen. Think timing. Coincidence? The attacks will only get worse. They are losing all control, and all is in brackets. Post 14:25. 54 minutes past the hour of 12. Q is responding to an Anon who shows this graphic and says new Q again on the Patriots fight board. Q says, given we have now undeniably, on purpose in brackets, verified ourselves to be an inside source, expect the MSM Clown Army in brackets to attack in full cooperation with foreign and domestic assets. Be prepared. Trust the plan. Conspiracy no more. We are in full control. Pain. 14:26. 58 minutes past the hour of 12. We've got another picture that we've seen before. Where we go one, where we go all. We are Q. 14:27. 53 minutes past the hour of 1 p.m. And we've got a picture of the American flag for God and country. Post 14:28. 4 minutes past the hour of 2 p.m. Q is responding to an Anon who says, Q's picks today seem to be a few seconds after the February pick. In the February pick, they are crossing the street, reaching the median. In today's picks, they have crossed the median and have begun crossing the street. The two people walking on the sidewalk on the right side of the picture are walking toward the camera. Q says, rotation, ROT equals rotation, Q. Post 14:29. 6 minutes past the hour of 2 p.m. The truth has been in front of you the entire time. Then we have a link, Q. 14:30. 19 minutes past the hour of 2 p.m. Clarification. We exposed the password, 91 in brackets, on purpose, 23 in brackets. Subsequent posts, on here in brackets, were then made by Anons. Timestamps verify. Use logic. Understood? Be careful who you follow, Q. Post 14:31. We have a few graphics here from, looks like May 16th. Follow the pen. Already written. Letters left visible to match. Then we have Twitter link to Jim Jordan. Where we go one, we go all, Q. Now we have another reference to a May 2nd tweet from Donald Trump. A rigged system. They don't want to turn over documents to Congress. What are they afraid of? Why so much redacting? Why such unequal justice? At some point, I will have no choice but to use the powers granted to the presidency and get involved. EO unreleased. Today was the precursor. It must be requested officially first, correct? Q. And we have a third graphic from Ron DeSantis. Thanks for responding favorably to the letter I sent with Jim Jordan and Representative Mark Meadows. Let's cut through the recalcitrant bureaucracy, get the truth, and hold people accountable. And it looks to be from May 20th. Q says, those who are loudest. Suicide weekend, pain. Post 14:32. 34 minutes past the hour of 5 p.m. A quote from Ephesians 6, verses 10 through 18. Finally, be strong in the Lord and his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything to stand, stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all of this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, and pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the saints. And then we have a second quotation from 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 13. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Okay, let's start you back at the beginning here. Post 1423, we have these pictures labeled NSA Traffic Cam Rotation 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to cross-reference them against a picture that was posted on February 16th labeled NSA Traffic Cam London 2847. Now, Q is saying to note the time, note the vehicles on the road, and to compare against February 16th, which is this. Okay, so let's look at these. This is rotation 1, rotation 2, rotation 3, and this is the original pic that we first saw, and this is from the post 784 back in February 16th. I'm sorry, this is the only one. If I try to click on this to magnify it, the other ones go away. But here's what I want to point out. Let's look at this one first, because this is the first one we saw back in February. We see this group of people. Looks like they're entering the median, crossing the street. We see a car stop, a bunch of cars stop at the light, but in particular, let's note this one, a little hatchback. And then across the street here, we see two more hatchbacks, a light and a dark one. This one has its brake lights on. And on the other side of the street, we see two pedestrians off in the distance. I'm sorry that I can't make this any bigger. All right, now let's look at the first picture from today. We see what looks to be that same car stopped at the light. We can no longer see the pedestrians from this angle, but we can still see what looks to be the same light and dark hatchbacks, the one with the brake lights on, and it looks like our pedestrians have moved across the median into the street. This takes us to rotation 2. We see the same car. We see the same two hatchbacks across the street. Brake lights still on. Looks to me like our pedestrians have gained some ground here, but we no longer see our group of 6. And we can see that this road is turning up left, and it looks like it leads to here. And this is the Corinthia Hotel. And it looks like we have found our suspects again, and they are walking up. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's go back to the post. Note the time. Looks to be the same. Note the vehicles on the road. Look to be the same. Compare against February 16th. That was this. Looks to be the same. 6 surveilled value targets. And that's these people right here. Looks to be like they're walking up. So the rotation seems to be like a rotation. If this cam was able to rotate, you can kind of see it turning left and up into the hotel. Now let me take you to the this is the hotel, what it looks like. Okay, and let me take you over to the Googly map, as I love to do. And it looks like they were walking right up here, and they turned at the Sir Joseph Bazalgette Memorial. Who, incidentally, wasn't he the guy who cleaned up the River Thames? He cleaned up the big stink. All right, so it looks like our suspects turned left on Northumberland Avenue and waltzed right up to the Corinthia Hotel. So, could this have been the meeting place? I want to note also that across the street, across Whitehall, looks to be Whitehall Place, we have the National Liberal Club. But it looks like they might have been heading to the Corinthia Hotel, London, and you will see why in a little bit later. But let's take you back to the post. So Q is talking about these targets, and if you notice in these pictures, it looks like it was cold, and we got some more cold pictures from a couple days ago, ending at post 1407, when we were also in London, and Q was telling us to note the jackets, the time of year. So these pictures were labeled London PS, Peter Strzok. Is Peter Strzok part of our crew? Was he part of what we're looking at here? Is Peter Strzok in here? Is Lisa Page there? Some people have said this guy looks like he could be John Brennan. We don't know. But it looks like we are being asked to keep tail of this crew. And clearly, it looks like this camera is leading us up to, to the Corinthia Hotel. Now, Peter Strzok is obviously relevant these days because as the president is going to be asking for everything unredacted and whatnot, we are likely going to recover all those missing texts and what actually was going on. So that is part of the relevancy. But I think ultimately the point that Q is trying to make here, and I'll take you here. If you notice this trip code, and here was the post originally on this board from February 16th, this trip code right here was a very common trip code that Q was using. This is post 784 back in February. Okay, this was long before people were saying that Q was comped, that Q was, or that Q, Q used to be great, but now Q is compromised. It's a new person. Somebody took the board over, whatnot. That seems to be the argument for the people who are not trusting that this is still the original Q. It seems to me that Q is wanting us not only to cross-reference the pictures, but because of the sequence of pictures, you will see that that is the original so-called Q. And of course, we've got the trip code that was recently updated just yesterday, okay, saying that this is still the same Q. Q is not compromised, and this is just another way of showing us. And I'm sure that Q has probably done that in other places too, where we just haven't yet noticed it, just in case Q has to do that. But you can clearly see that this is the same sequence of pictures from back then, long before people were talking about Q being compromised. And I think that's the bigger point that Q is trying to make. Now, in regards to this, UK, US, UK, looks to me like UK's got eyes in or on the US, and US has the same eyes in or on the UK. Clearly, there was some sort of collaboration to get these pictures from London. So what we're seeing there is a little bit of intelligence and counterintelligence, and we all know that when we think of counterintelligence, we think of one Peter Strzok and James Bond, but mostly Peter Strzok. All right, post 1424 takes you over to a Donald Trump tweet, and I'm going to take you over to Twitter because this is kind of blurry. But Q says, follow the pen. Think timing? Coincidence? The attacks will only get worse. They are losing all control. Q. And here we are over on Twitter. President Trump says, I hereby demand and will do so officially tomorrow that the Department of Justice look into whether or not the FBI/DOJ infiltrated or surveilled the Trump campaign for political purposes, and if any such demands or requests were made by people within the Obama administration. Well, we already know this to be true, but there is still a lot of debate amongst the, the mainstream media and people that follow the mainstream media. So this is going to be some really, really big news and probably some more hotly contested news. Q says, follow the pen. Well, that's usually referring to executive orders, and we saw this yesterday. By the way, FTP, follow the pen. Why didn't I think? You know what? I thought of it. I always think of these things when I'm like uploading the video. Then I'm sitting there going, oh, I wish I could have had that back. Follow the pen. Follow the pen. Follow the pen. All right, so we're following the pen. Donald Trump's signature looks like it's on it. EO coming down the pipe. You might even be seeing this EO as you wake up and see this video. So, coincidence? No. The attacks will only get worse. They got terrible. They were terrible attacks. They're losing all control. And the more control they lose, the more terrible these attacks get. And Q's saying that the attacks were only going to get worse. Now, President Trump, incidentally, has been on a tweet storm. And I'm just going to read you a couple here. The witch hunt finds no collusion with Russia, so they're looking at the rest of the world. Oh, great. And why hasn't the Podesta brother been charged and arrested like others after being forced to close down his very large and successful firm? Yeah, we'd like to know. Is it because he's a very well-connected Democrat working in the swamp of Washington, D.C.? Yes, President Trump, that's why. Whatever happened to the server at the center of so much corruption that the Democratic National Committee refused to hand over to the hard charging, except in the case of Democrats' FBI? They broke into homes and offices early in the morning, but were afraid to take the server? Now, but the witch hunt has given up on Russia and is looking at the rest of the world. They should easily be able to take it into the midterm elections where they can put some hurt on the Republican Party. Don't worry about Dems, FISA abuse, missing emails, or fraudulent dossier. In the Hillary Clinton campaign, campaign where she deleted 33,000 emails, got 145 million, while Secretary of State paid McCabe's wife 700,000 and got off the FBI hook, along with Terry M. and so much more. Republicans and real Americans should start getting tough on this scam. Okay, so clearly Donald Trump is on the offensive. And according to this tweet, we're going to find something out tomorrow. And we already know to be following the pen. And we've already seen the pen, so it's just a matter of when it's going to get put down. Coincidence? I think not. Now, post 1425, Anon takes this and says new Q again, and then is referring to the Patriots fight board. Q says, given we have now undeniably, on purpose in brackets, verified ourselves to be an inside source, expect the MSM clown army to attack in full cooperation with foreign and domestic assets. Be prepared, trust the plan, conspiracy no more, we are in full control, pain. Well, I think what Q is referring to, and again, this is just another Q proof. We talked about these pictures here. Q is, showing that they're legit and that they've done everything according to plan. They don't seem to be surprised by any of this stuff, regardless of what the rhetoric around Q seems to be. Q seems to be still producing, and really President Trump is the one that outwardly is the one producing. And I think that is a result, of course, of people like you and I too. We are all getting some results now, and now tomorrow we're going to get something big. Now we're not sure if we're still expecting something on Wednesday the 23rd. We don't know. I want to talk about that timeline in just a second, but I want to finish some of these Q posts. But either way, Q is saying to expect the MSM clown army to attack in full cooperation with foreign and domestic assets. So what I can expect and what you can expect is not only for the mainstream media to get ugly, but we're going to see the foreign media to get ugly. The foreign press is going to get really, really ugly. I would imagine Hollywood is going to get really, really ramped up and amped up, and they're going to do everything that they can to discredit the president, to discredit people like Q and you and I. So we need to be prepared to trust the plan, conspiracy no more. I think the best thing that we can do is just keep our heads down and moving forward and trying not to address the drama that may surround us. We are in full control. Pain. Q. Post 1426. We got a little motivation right there. Look at that crowd. We are Q. Where we go one, we go all. It's a bitchin' picture, and we're bitchin'. Post 1427. Now, we've seen this flag again. This looks to be some sort of marker of some sorts, and to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure. Now, in the past, when I've seen this flag come up, I've noticed that no name pops up in the in the picture. So I'm not exactly sure if that's a reference. That's just my own personal guess. If you'd let me know what you think, maybe it's just some motivation by showing the good old red, white, and blue. But I tend to think that this tends to be kind of a time marker as we go through, but I haven't exactly figured out how it all works out yet. Let's move on to the next post. 1428. Q is responding to an Anon that says, Q's pics today seem to be a few seconds after the February pic. In the February pic, they are crossing the street, reaching the median. In today's pic, they have crossed the median and have begun crossing the street. The two people walking on the sidewalk on the right side of the picture are walking towards the camera. And Q says, ROT equals rotation. Q. All right, well, that makes sense, and we already kind of talked about that, didn't we? If we're thinking about one camera rotating, we can clearly see that this is following the crew, and although we lose them in the pic, the camera is turning up into the Corinthia Hotel. Makes sense to me. Makes sense to you. Q seems to be on board with that theory. So let's move on. Now we get to post 1429. Q says the truth has been in front of you the entire time, and then takes you back to this right here. Now, this is a status from President Trump from back in December of 2013. How amazing. The state health director who verified copies of Obama's birth certificate died in a plane crash today. All others live. Yes, this was a really, really strange story, wasn't it? This is from December 14, 2013 off of AtlantaBlackStar.com. Hawaii health director who released Obama birth certificate dies in a small plane crash. when a small plane carrying 9 people crashed into the ocean off the Hawaiian island of Molokai on Wednesday. The only person on board killed in the wreckage was Loretta Fuddy, the director of the State Department of Health, who stepped into a national spotlight 2 years ago when she approved a request to allow President Obama access to copies of his birth certificate. Fuddy, 65, was more recently occupied with implementation of Obama's Affordable Care Act. All the other 8 passengers on the plane, including the pilot and the health department's deputy director, Keith Yamamoto, survived the crash. The Makani Kai airplane was bound for Honolulu when it crashed about a half-mile northwest of Kalaupapa Peninsula. I hope I said that right. Kalaupapa Peninsula. All right, so this is a big story, and it deserves its own video. And I've been actually wanting to make a video on this for a very long time, but Q has been so prolific, it's difficult to ever get really any headway on it. So here's what I want to do, because I do think the story is very important. I would like to turn you on to this channel here. This is called PNN News and Ministry Network, www.ppsimmons.com. And now I don't know these people, but I thought this video was great, and I watched this. I don't know how long ago I watched it. It was posted in 2014. I saw it a long time ago. But if you want to know what this tweet is in response to, and most people already know that Obama's birth certificate was pretty suspect, to say the least. Okay, but this video does a great job of breaking it down, and it's entitled "Shocker: Loretta Fuddy, the Cult of Subud, Barack Obama and his real father." And Subud is it was something that Loretta Fuddy was wrapped up in. You'll see the video breaks it down really, really well. It talks about Barack Obama's likely his real father, and this Subud being kind of like almost sort of like an NXIVM cult themselves too. And I think this is going to be important information. And clearly Q is referencing us all the way back to a tweet from 2013 to turn us on to it. So go check that video out, because I'm afraid I'm just never going to have time to do it unless Q actually, stops posting for about 24 to 48 hours. Then maybe I would actually make my own video of it. But please check this out, and this will catch you up on that story. But Q is saying the truth has been in front of you the entire time. Now, post 1430. Q says, clarification: we exposed the password number 91 on purpose, and then we have 23 in brackets. And Q is talking about number 91, the number 91 post on Patriots Fight. So if you follow Q on the Patriots Fight board, I believe that would be number 91. And now the 23 was in reference to a few days ago, or a couple days ago, I guess, can't keep my time straight anymore, where we saw this quote unquote accidentally released. Now comes the pain in 23. And a lot of us theorized that it could be meaning Wednesday the 23rd, May 23rd, which was really close to the 25th, which is still staying on our Q timeline. Remember, 525 being Q, that something was really, really going to happen. And now there's a lot of really key dates to keep in mind, and some different theories. Like we talked about yesterday, we were assuming that there could be a possibility that this could mean the 23rd, which would be Wednesday, like we just said. Now, in looking at this code here, now comes the pain in, and then we have a long dash and a short dash. And I want to turn you on to this. This is Ashley's Twitter at AshD1385. Ashley's my new friend, whether she likes it or not, just became a new friend. And she posted this, and I like this a lot, and I wanted to turn you on to this. And she posted this International Morse code. And Ashley, I have to tell you, I was kind of onto this yesterday, right? And I was trying to search a long dash and a short dash and what that was meaning. And I never even thought to break it into just one, but you did. And she shows us here that one long dash is a T. So let's assume that this is a T. Would that be T minus 23, meaning 23 more days? And that would make a lot of sense. Ashley, thanks so much for that. Meaning 6/11. Now on 6/11, U.S. net neutrality rules will expire on June 11th as of FCC. This is from May 11th. Landmark U.S. net neutrality rules will expire on June 11th, and new regulations handing providers broad new power over how consumers can access the internet will take effect, the FCC said on Thursday in setting the date. So could that be what we're talking about? And would that lend some reference here to post 1355, where Q goes on to say, why are D slow walking POTUS federal judge nominations? Watch what happens. And then we have in brackets a Q box minus 30, and that post was from May 13th. So I'm not really sure. And then I was also thinking, let's just say we're off a day or so. June 12th would be the North Korea summit. So those are some key dates, and I'd like to thank Ashley, and go follow her because she's got some really cool stuff. Ashley, I hope you don't mind, I'm calling you out, but she's got some cool stuff on her Twitter, and I just started following her, and I really like some of your stuff, so thank you for that, and I hope you don't mind me using your stuff in my video. All right, taking you back to post 1430. Q says, clarification, we exposed the passwords 91 on purpose 23. Now, we just talked about that. Subsequent posts on here were then made by Anons. So I didn't originally see these posts. And thanks to Neon Revolt, looks like somebody sent Neon Revolt this. And these would be the posts. And as you can see, looks like from 507 to 508, we have 4 posts here. Password exposed. Are you serious? Can you please get a new trip, please, Q? Well, definitely things that Q wouldn't post, right? And so whoever was trying to get in here is clearly trying to expose, and is also obviously paying attention to the boards and trying to get on there. And Q says timestamps verify, and Q was posting right around the same time. Use logic. Understood? Be careful who you follow. So this is simply just looks like a trap. You know, look, this is 8chan. It's not like, it's not the NSA super duper computer. Okay. I don't know what the NSA super duper computer even looks like. I'm just pretending that there is an NSA super duper computer, and I'm sure it doesn't look like 8chan. All right. But Q is saying that the timestamps verify. Use logic. Understood? Be careful who you follow. Well, Q has offered us plenty of proofs, okay? And we don't need any more proof to know that there are people that are trying to attack at Q as well, too. All right, let's move on. Post 1431. Now, this takes us not way back to the 16th. Q says, follow the pen. Already written, letters left visible to match. And, of course, that was in reference to Jim Jordan's request for basically for Trump to create an executive order, and it looks like that also has already been written. The letters left visible to match, that talked about the picture, and of course I never actually saw the exact match and how it made, but it must have matched up just fine. But either way, we got this now from Jim Jordan. It looks like now we're just waiting on the EO. Now we have this tweet here from the 2nd of May. A rigged system. They don't want to turn over documents to Congress. What are they afraid of? Why so much redacting? Why such unequal justice? At some point, I will have no choice but to use the powers granted to the presidency and get involved. And then we have this here, EO unreleased. Today was the precursor. It must be requested officially first, correct? Q. And that was, this is also from the 16th. So this is all this build up. This is all this build up that we're talking about this EO that is unreleased. Today was the precursor. And then, I'm sorry, this is pretty fuzzy, but this is Ron DeSantis, who says, thanks for responding favorably to the letter I sent with Jim Jordan and Representative Mark Meadows. We've talked about that letter. Let's cut through the recalcitrant, bureaucracy, get the truth, and hold people accountable. Those who are the loudest, suicide weekend, pain. Well, those who are the loudest are the Pelosi's and the Brennans and the Schiffs and the the Schumers, the usual cast of characters. And now Q again is saying suicide weekend, pain. So it looks like we're probably in for some more pain. Now, let's take you to post 1432. And this is a quote from Ephesians 6, verses 10 through 18. Finally, be strong in the Lord and his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything to stand, stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, and pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the saints. Well, there's not much you can say to embellish that, is there, folks? Ephesians 6, verses 10 through 18. And then we have this last part from Q, which incidentally is from 1 Corinthians. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Well, love is patient. Sometimes it's not very easy to be patient or kind. It does not envy, it does not boast. It is not proud. And we've seen a lot of envy, we've seen a lot of boasting, and a lot of pride, which is what got us here. It is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no records of wrongs. Well, unfortunately, we've got a big record of wrongs, don't we? And we're trying to make some things right. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Interestingly enough, this is from 1 Corinthians. Could this be a reference to the Corinthia Hotel? You decide. Ladies and gentlemen, those are your Q posts. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. And when you get unclicked and unliked and unsubscribed, just do it again, please. I'd really greatly appreciate it. YouTube is doing a lot to keep you and me apart, but you and me, we're like peanut butter and chocolate. Or is it peanut butter and jelly? Peanut butter and chocolate sounds better to me. We're like peanut butter and chocolate, you and me, you and I, me and you. We. Where we go one, we go all. This is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay faithful, stay patient, stay kind.